Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope that you are ready for another Christmas card because today I am featuring the Merry Carolers and the Snow Glow Builder die from Hello Bluebird. Now last year I got this adorable stamp set and as many I didn't got the time to use them, so today I'm changing that with this card. I also took the Snow Globe Builder die and I'm first going to prep my background, the snow globe, to just make sure that I have a tiny scene area to put my critters on. So last Hello Bluebird Christmas card that I created already this year as well, I also used this amazing woven background stamp set. Now there I just stamped it with pink ink on a piece of paper and I left it as is. Now in this case I first thought doing that as well, but this time with sea gloss ink. But later on I just found it a bit too white, so we will be doing some ink blending as well. So background stamp, I don't use them often, but it can give you a lovely pattern in the back, which makes it easier to create some sort of a clean and simple card by just having this soft, subtle background and not having to create a whole scene. I will be limiting my scene to that snow globe that I'm also going to prep right now. I'm using the same ink as I use for the background stamp. I'm using the sea gloss ink and I'm just going to softly ink blend the sky on top of this white piece that I die cut with the Snow Globe Builder die. This is the largest die from the set, and then I already die cut a white frame for the snow globe and one in wheat brown cardstock from Concord and 9 as well. Just to give it a bit of an older vibe, it's going to be a really soft but lovely card that I'm prepping today. I'm not worried about the border under on the bottom of this snow globe because, as you can see here, I'm going to cover it and there will be an area to stamp out the sentiment. There will be a snowy hill to put on the critters. I'm not worried about that at all. Now for the sentiment, I'm using one of this stamp set and I'm going to white heat emboss that on that wheat cardstock here. It's going to be really subtle but definitely visible. So I'm just prepping the wheat cardstock here and then I will be stamping out the sentiment with some Versamark clear embossing ink, and then I'll use my Ranger white embossing powder. So I'm just going to do that, making sure it's straight. Versamark, this ink will stay a bit longer wet so that I have a time to put the embossing powder on top. And I'm just stamping it a few times to make sure that I have a clean sentiment later on. Pouring that embossing powder on top, and once I'm happy I cleared off the excess embossing powder, I'm going to heat set the sentiment. Now I don't know what happened, I think I was a bit too quickly on some of the areas, so there were a few letters that when I dropped it here, there were a few letters that sort of faded a bit, so I'm just going to take a white jelly roll pen and I'm going to try to go over it. But as you can see, you can definitely read the sentiment. I just wanted to fix that tiny boo-boo that I had on the happy by dropping it on my craft mat. So in case you have things like that, or there is just a tiny area missing of your stamp set, of your sentiment, when you're heat embossing with white, for example, you can always use a white jelly roll pen to just fix that tiny area. If you heat embossed with black, then you have that black pen. Maybe you have those other colors also in pen form, then you can fix those tiny areas if necessary. Now I'm going to lay all of the layers on top of each other, and then I tested my snow globe to see whether it worked with the background, and since I'm using the same ink, you can already assume that it's working out, but I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you thought the same as I did, that the white background was just a bit too white, or if you liked it as it was before I started ink blending a bit of the green-blue color in the background as well. So here I'm just making sure that I'm lining it up using some liquid glue that gives me a bit of wiggle room to get everything nicely in place. And then I actually have my snow globe ready And so here I tested it and I just didn't like it completely. I'm going to first die cut this with the Nesting Deckle A2 die from Hello Bluebird, one of my favorites, as well as the mini slimline Nesting Deckle set that they have. It just gives this lovely fun border. It's not completely straight, but it's perfectly sized, and it just gives something extra. So as I said, I'm going to ink blend. I'm not going to ink blend a ton. I'm just taking that same ink and I'm going to add a bit more color on the edges. I'm not bothered about adding the color in the center of this panel because I'm going to cover that up with the snow globe. Just a soft fade will do. It also is not ruining the background that we created with that background stamp, so everything is still visible, but it softens it a bit more. So I'm just going around the edges. And then once that's done, I'm going to take all of the critters. I actually stamped out quite a lot and I wasn't sure that I was going to use all of them, but in the end I ended up using them all and I was really happy with how it ended up like. Also the snow globe, maybe an afterthought. I wanted to have snowflakes on top of it, but since I glued everything on top, I was a bit afraid to start splattering, so later on I will fix that with a white jelly roll pen. But if I would have thought about it earlier, then I would have splattered after ink blending and then started adhering everything together. So that's just an afterthought. But if you want those random snowy kind of feels, then you can always do that. You can also create a shaker snow globe, which would have been fun as well, to go behind the critters, put a few critters in it if you want to, but definitely just create a shaker and then add your critters on top. It's a really simple way of creating the shaker with the frame. You can just die cut it multiple times and create that shaker. Maybe I will do that in the future, maybe this year, to create a shaker from the snow globe because it's really fun. But yeah, you know me, I don't create a lot of shakers. It's just, well, it's just so fiddly, but it's really fun. And I know that I give, like, last year I created a shaker. Well, the shaker cards that I created, I always give it to families with kids because I can already imagine that they are like shaking hell out of it. Well, we are almost at that crucial point here. I wanted to add the globe on top and I dropped it. I was really angry with myself and I had no clue what to do first, but then I decided to just quickly remove as much glue as possible with my fingers, and then of course it's a bit sticky, so I heat set my panel here to let it dry a bit quicker. The well, you know what I mean, the thing that was left on top, and then I took my glue eraser here, which was kind of the thing that took me like half an hour to do because I didn't want to ruin the background, but I really needed to remove everything. It worked out fine and I'm really glad that I stuck with it, but it took some time to get everything off of this background. So let's continue. But I wanted to keep it in because I know that in the past I would have just thrown it away and started all over, but I was so glad that I didn't here, and I hope that I can encourage you, if things like this happen, maybe you can still fix it and use the things that you already prepped, because all the time you put into it, the effort, I think it's worth it to just take the time to try to remedy the mistake or issue. Okay, now onto the coloring. I have stamped the images out using extreme black ink from My Favorite Things, and I'm coloring them with my Copics. In case you want to revisit color combinations, you can always find them on my blog post. I think most of the combinations, if you have been around here for some time, will be combinations that you already know that I love using. The E33, E53 is always there. So yeah, really simple. For the mouse, I ended up using a warm gray. I really love the brown tones, but I already had 3 cuties with browns, so I ended up using a warm gray for the mouse, just balance it out a bit more. So I'm coloring from darkest marker towards my lightest, which is totally up to you. to decide which order you are using your markers in. Also, other markers will work perfectly. There are so many brands out there. I know that not everyone has Copics. I just stick with them because they were the first that I started buying, so it's just easier to stick to one brand, I think. But definitely look around. There are tons of marker combinations for other markers as well. You might be able to put them next to a Copic combination that you love and just see which one is kind of resembling the Copic combination that you love, and then find your own markers for those other brands that you might have at home. So for the shadowing, I ended up working with the way they are facing. So the way they are facing, that side will have like the light source on, so the bunny and the bear have the shadowing on the left side, the mouse and the deer has the shadowing on the right side because they're facing towards the left. So I think that's a really simple way to decide how your shadowing should be. It's not something that you need to stick to. I think it's all about having fun. You can also do shadowing all at the same side of your critters. Definitely all up to you. There is no right or wrong with that. And as you can see here, I am adding a second layer. I'm most of the time doing that. It's, for me, works better to add a second layer to get the blend that I want. The paper that I'm using is Transotype Perfect Coloring Paper, which is a great paper with Copics. It can handle quite a lot as well, which makes it easier to add multiple layers if I need to. And sometimes 2 layers isn't enough. Then I just go back in there and add another layer. Also, I started with the fur of all of the critters. I had no clue yet what I was going to do with the accessories they were wearing or holding. So that was a bit of a struggle later on, but I ended up using really soft, like pastel kind of rainbow colors to just have a bit of fun with them. But as my background was really soft, I didn't want to have the darkest colors out there, tons of contrast in my accessories. So that's why I stick to really soft combinations, always using only 2 markers. As you see here for the critters, I'm most of the time using 3. 3 for me works really well. You have a mid-tone, lightest and darkest. But you can also use 4, 2, 1. It depends on how big your image is, in my opinion. For these critters, I think 3 works fine. But like here as well, I'm only using 2 markers because it's so small and tiny. Where do I put the third marker, you know? So that's just all up to you as well, if you want to add another marker or not. But also with the accessories, there you can use 3, but 2 definitely is enough as well. If you prefer having just 1 color and not do like shadowing and stuff, you can keep with 1 color. It's perfectly fine as well. So that's all up to you. So here for the bunny, I decided to work with a few spots here and there. So I first added a bit of shadowing with my E50 markers, and then I went back in with those other markers to create some wild spots on it to give it a bit of interest and do not do every time the same. It's something I'm trying to do more and more, adding like those details and spots. In the past I never did that, and last year, the end of the year, I sort of tried to do that more, and I like it. But I definitely am more comfortable with just filling up the image completely. So here the innards of the ears, I'm just using exactly the same markers for all of the critters. I love the E13, E11 for this. If I need a third one, I would use the E01, which is also kind of a color combination that I use for skin tones. So that's handy to have on hand. Here, not forgetting like the tail of the mouse. I had another card where I didn't realize I forgot, and then the card, well, I sent the card out and I saw the picture and I was like, I forgot the tail. I forgot it. But no biggie. It can be whitish as well. So here for the bunny, I went with pink, really soft R22, R20. Not a lot of contrast, as I said before, but really cute as well. This for me kind of is like the pastel vibe of all of the colors. For the bear here, G00, G0000, really soft and sweet, and I love the contrast between this accessory color and then the bear itself. Also really fresh, it's almost the color that I blended with. Also, I decided to add a bit of shadowing on the paper that they are holding, but just some flicking, not too fancy or anything like that. A bit of green, yellow green 03 and yellow green 00. The little sticker has been gone for a while now, and I really should add it again, but I'm really lazy as well. So that's why it's just not on there on the yellow green 00. But I think it's clear that this one marker is like the yellow green 00 as well. So next up, a bit of orange. This one is yellow red 02, yellow red 00. And then for like the bells that the mouse is holding, I'm just going to repeat a few of the colors from previously, like the red and then some yellows. Really subtle. Also, these bells could just have one color definitely, but I just went all out with my two color combinations, or two marker combinations. So after doing that, once I filled up like the bell here, I am going to die cut all of the images, and then we can assemble our card a bit more. So here we go. I'm just figuring out how I can place everything so that every critter is visible, but there is also like a cohesion. They are sort of belonging together. I tried some new white jelly roll pen details, which I really love. Whenever I see them on other people's cards, I'm still getting used to it, and I'm not doing that on every card. But here on the critters from Hello Bluebird, it's so adorable. So I went out and I just added them on all of them. There is no logic in my white jelly roll pen details, not at all. So just follow along and see whatever you like. You can maybe use them as well, or the same way. I'm just doing something. I also decided to add a few details on the accessories, like some stripes, some dots, to give it a bit of interest. Also trying to do that more. Not always, but just sometimes. And then don't forget to add some snow details on the snow globe if you were like me and were just a bit too excited and started adhering everything before adding the snow on the right places. I'm almost there. Also, I love adding like a white jelly roll pen details on the eyes when they are open, because it's just really cute, and it's like they are really sparkling. So I love that. So here I started adding snow drops. Now the only thing that I want to suggest is here, as I did, stop at a certain point, start adhering your critters, and then you can fill up the other areas that you still need some snowflakes, because doing this manually and not just flicking things, it's really fun. It's time consuming, but it can be like a sort of therapy kind of thing. I love doing it, but I also hate it when I realize later on that I spend time on adding white jelly roll pen details while I'm going to cover it completely. So I did the top, then I stopped, I added all of the critters, and then I filled up the blanks in between the critters to make sure that I had snow everywhere, but still not doing it for nothing, okay? So here with the bunny, I just needed to make sure that wherever it was overlapping with the bear, I wasn't adding any adhesive, because otherwise it would have been a bit bulky. So that wasn't the idea here. And then, as I said, I just added my white jelly roll pen details further, so that I would have a complete snow scene going on in my snow globe. And then actually my card is completely finished. It's a really soft, cute card. Of course, it's with Hello Bluebird. I hope that you like it, that I could inspire you in a way to create another Christmas card, or just use these adorable images if you have this stamp set or a similar one. Thank you so much for being here and supporting me throughout my crafting adventures. You guys are amazing. I wish you all an incredible day, and I'll be back soon with some new crafty inspiration. Bye!